Hey everyone, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I came here today to Alicante to ReactConf to tell you that React Native testing is a compromise. It's exactly like Daniel told us yesterday in his talk, the state of React Native in 2025. We basically have two approaches. We can either have our tests done with just vtest testing library. Those are unit tests and integration tests. And those run really fast, but you don't really get the full native experience out of them. Those tests have a lot of mocks, and they don't have access to native platform. On the other hand, you can go through end-to-end route with Appium or Maestro, that I'm showing you logo on the screen. I'm going to be using it in my demo, where the tests are slower and they test the UI, but you get all of the native platform by design. So those are the trade-offs. With Jest, we get fast execution, great developer experience. Those are meant for function testing, and there is very low entry barrier. Like you get Jest boilerplate in, or vtest boilerplate in every React boilerplate project. But, like I said, those run in Node.js, not on device, so there is no native module access. At the same time, for end-to-end, those do run on real devices, test the actual user experience. They are meant to validate the full flows, not just like the part of unit testing. But the setup is pretty heavy. So when I tried to create a demo for this talk, I really struggled with flakiness. I created this test in 2 minutes, but then I spent the next 20 making sure that it works today. And then you have to rebuild the native app and JS bundle each time that you want to run those tests. So that's the compromise in React Native testing that we have today. But we learned how to deal with it. And again, Daniel yesterday showed us that this is basically the split that everyone follows right now. That's the state as is right now. We use, again, Jest, testing library, vtest, unit testing, component testing, TDD, and end-to-end, and end-to-end takes care of the rest. But testing native modules, it real sucks. So we are 4 minutes into the talk, and I can finally welcome you to my main subject. Because this is not about React Native application testing. This is about testing native modules. I'm ŁUKASZ CHLUDZISKI. I'm a developer and engineering manager at CallStack, and I'm also a podcast host. And I'm here representing CallStack, the team behind many open source libraries that you use every day in React and React Native ecosystem. 2 of those are React Native testing library, dedicated to help with unit and integration testing. And also we created React Native Builder Bob, create React Native library. That's a tool that helps you create other libraries. Both of those are mentioned in official React Native documentation as the way of testing your React Native app and creating native modules. So it just makes sense for us to create a missing middle ground between unit testing and end-to-end testing. We are not the only ones that have this problem in React Native ecosystem. The guy on this GIF here is Mark Ruzavi from Margello. He's an author and contributor to many very popular React Native libraries. And I'm going to use one of his libraries to show you my point, to demonstrate my point. So testing native module in React Native still sucks. I'm going to show you how our grandfathers used to test native modules. So now I'm going to switch to my demo, which is here. I have two different demos, so I need to be better at changing my setup. Yep, that should work. OK, so I'm going to go to MAKV repository that I just cloned a few days ago. And I'm going to show you that this is actual MAKV repository. So the last commit is from Mark that I already introduced. And it is from like a week ago. What this library does in React Native is basically a replacement for regular async storage that is supposed to be much faster than the original one. So if you look here, they have this beautiful graph showing that the MAKV is the fastest storage library. So what this library does is it takes value in React Native, it saves that value to the device, and stores it. And then you can reference that value by key you saved it under, and just retrieve it. So let's start this. In this repository, there is an example app. And I'm going to fire up this example app. So let's make sure that this is installed. Yes. I'm going to go to example app, and I'm going to do ban. OK. So that's it. That's the example app. So what I can say is test key. Under test key, I can save test value. I can save it. It's saved. You can see it under available keys here. And then I can read from MAKV, test key equals test value. That's the main premise of this library. But what this example app is doing is allowing you to store strings, right? Or maybe numbers as well, but mostly strings. The library itself is much more powerful than that. This example app is not showing this. OK, so let's look some more about the repository. And in package.json here, I can see that they do have some tests. Let's try to run them. So if I do ban run test, OK, 4 tests, all passed. I can go home. What am I doing here? Like, this basically is a library taken directly from GitHub, and the tests are passing. But are they really? So this one, like, it is passing, like, render up. OK, renders correctly. But in this one, something interesting is happening. So like I told you, this library is really powerful. So we are setting string as key, string as value, number as value, and then Boolean as value. That example app is not replicating that really well. And then what we basically do is we expect to get the value, and if we try to get something else from that key, get number on Boolean, to be undefined. OK, let's see. How is it working if it doesn't have a native module setup in Jest? Let's look at the create MAKV. Oh, if this is a test and this is a test, they're going to create mock. And they have this function that basically is, I guess, supposed to replicate the native module. So what this test is doing is basically testing their mock, right? Like, it's passing, but we are not really testing the native implementation. OK, so what else can we do? So that's this like left piece of the slide that I showed you. We tried to use jest. This is a very familiar syntax. I'd love to have something like this for testing native modules, but it fails. It doesn't work in jest environment. What else can we do? So we can go to end-to-end side. If I go here, I can show you that I actually created a Maestro script. And Maestro is this end-to-end framework library for testing flows in React Native. It's really easy to use. So you provide its app ID. I clear the state of the app. I launch the app. I tap on those two keys. I write key and value, saving, reading, asserting. OK, let's see if this works. So I'm gonna, let's do. Here, I'm gonna do the Maestro script. So let me do it again. Yep. OK, so it clears the state. It launches the app. It tries to tap on that input key. And this is a mistake that I made, especially right now, because Maestro allows me to select this field just by text on the screen, but this is the flaky part. This didn't work for me yesterday. So what I ended up doing is I have this stash applying test IDs on the screen. So as you can see here, I'm just adding 2 test IDs to text inputs so that it's easier for Maestro to focus on them. Let's see if it works right now. It should, because I spent 30 minutes working on it, so it should work. OK, tapping on input key, it's tapped. Inputting best React Native, best React conference. The value is React Alicante, of course. Saving to native, reading from native, and then asserting that it happened on the screen. That worked. I just tested the native functionality of this module. I ran 1 test, and it took 30 seconds. And this test is representing, I guess, only this portion, like only, sorry, like these 2 lines. I'm setting the value and reading the value. I still have 12 other tests in this file, and some of those would be really hard to represent visually. So for example, I want to set value as false. I wouldn't be able to do that from text field. I have to create some other UI to do that. If I want to retrieve that value, I have to also visually represent Boolean value on the screen, read it from end to end. That's a lot of the hassle. Also, I can get all keys. How do I do that in end-to-end testing? It doesn't make sense. And we've been forced to use this kind of workarounds. I'm not saying that Mark is using this approach. This is something that I created. He's using something also complicated to basically arrive on the same conclusion, that testing native module just sucks. So what I want to do is go back to my presentation and tell you how we can make it better. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back to my presentation. I still have 20 minutes, so that's good. OK, so that's how our grandparents used to do it. It doesn't look optimal, because, again, we are trying to unit or integration test the flow from JS side function call, going through native, doing some work there, and then going back. What Jest allows us to do is to do the JS side only. We could use some native tools to do the native side only. There is no tool that allows you to use that kind of syntax, that kind of paradigm, to do it across the language barrier. So how can we make it better? What I want from this kind of tool to do is to have the full native access. I don't want to build any UI. I want to just unit test. I want those tests to be fast. I don't want to wait 30 seconds for my test to run. And if I can have familiar Jest or vtest syntax, that would be great. So with that, I'm announcing Harness, which is the missing middle ground in React Native modules testing. It was created not by me. I played around it for a few days. It was created by Shimon, who is really talented and experienced developer, and my friend. And he created this, and this is in version alpha. So what do we get? So we get most of the things that I specified on that previous list. So we have full native access, no complex UIs, fast feedback loop, and we get Jest or vtest syntax. We still need to build a native app, but we are trying to use the native app, so that's required. So how does it work? So we're gonna use Metro to bundle the tests together with our app. We're gonna run those tests on real device. We're gonna hijack the app, basically, and run the tests and not show the app. And then we're gonna communicate back the results. Okay, demo time 2. Let's see if I can do it faster this time. I'm gonna... It seems that I can't. OK. Yeah, that's mirroring. So we end up in the same repository, makv, with the same files. I'm going to just revert everything that I did here. And I'm going to apply the next stash, the stash that I prepared 17 hours ago, so 1 o'clock last night. I'm going to apply it. And what should we do? Should we first look at the changes? Or, yeah, let's do this. Let's verify that after those changes, I'm gonna install them, ban install, and then I'm gonna do ban, no, sorry, it's not from here. I need to go to example. Ban run Android. It still works, OK. That's good. The app still works after the changes. Let's see if the app is still able to do the tests for us, right? So where are the tests? Where are the tests here? Yep. Everything is working as previously for the regular app flow. So looking at the changes, no, first of all, we are adding React Native Harness. Right now, we are in version alpha 13, released yesterday. For Harness to work, what we need is this config. And this config is really similar to end-to-end configs that you see in Appium or you just saw in Maestro. So look at this line. I need to provide the platform that I want this to run on. And also, I want to provide bundle ID. For the application that I'm running. it's really similar to this, right? I also provided bundle ID, but Maestro just takes the emulator that I have to run the test. So that's the config. Let's look at Metro. So I just told you that we want to bundle our tests together with Metro bundle, so we need to add higher order function here to make that happen. Also, we need to add one line to Babel config to have some module mocking and bundling speedup. And apart from this, oh, that's the most important bit. So if we run our app normally, it should just do this, because React Native harness is not present in the global, so it's just going to run up normally, just like I showed you. But if we are running the test, it's going to hijack the app execution, and it's just going to do its own thing. OK, so if I now go to that example, and I do ban React Native harness test Android, something went wrong because I haven't closed the Metro. Yep. It's starting. It just finished in 0 milliseconds because there are no tests yet. OK? So let's work on adding some tests. And as an example, I'm just going to use this test because this is so fucking cool. I have like 14 different test cases that I want to test my library against. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm just going to put it here. And harness requires the harness name of the file. And basically, and this is also something that Daniel showed us yesterday about this vtest browser extension or something. I can just do import from React Native harness. And instead of using just globals, I'm just going to do describe before all it and expect. And if I have this right now, this is all you need to transfer your jest mock testing into harness testing. So let's see if it works. It found the test, but test on line 18 failed. And it also found just one test because that test file is written in this way. So let's try to focus on this next so that we can run all of the tests and see which ones are failing and which ones are not. So in order to split this, I need to create a bunch of test functions. So let me open Cursor, because this is 2025. And in Cursor, I already have the prompt because I did it like 7 different times yesterday. So I'm just going to do this. Maybe, where is it? Add to chat. And I want to split all expects into its own test cases. No mistakes. OK. Let's see. I made a mistake in word mistake. So I guess that works. I guess that works. It looks fine for my purposes. I'm not going to be using that much more. So I'm going to keep all, and then I'm going to run those files, those tests again. OK. Now, we have 12 tests, and that tracks, because in that previous file, we have 14 expect statements, but 2 of those are like nested. So that's one test case. So we have 12 test cases, and 8 of them are passing. That's good. 4 of them are failing. That means that tests that this repository has as its way of testing its functionality is not testing its functionality. Like, those tests are actually misleading. And like, I'm not putting any blame on Mark. This library actually is using the beta version of MAKV, so maybe those tests were written for version 3, for example. At the same time, this just like shows you that you cannot trust those kind of tests that's just like run in mock environment. Even if you do like some mapping over what your native library is returning and that keep it as a configuration, that just doesn't scale. But so yeah, what we got is test results, output. This ran in 90 milliseconds. So 1/10 of a second to run 12 tests, whereas in previous example that was real, it took 30 seconds to run only once. And we don't have to build anything, and all we need is simple jest and vtest syntax. So yeah, this is end of my demo. This is what I wanted to show you. I'm gonna go back to my slides, but I'm really impressed of what we have here, of what Szymon accomplished. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it on to Szymon that you clapped on this. I'm gonna stop mirroring, and I'm gonna do it again, and I'm gonna end this with few last slides of the presentation. Okay. So that was the demo of Harness. And let's just recap what we just did. We took jest test, added some imports at the top, and it automatically started to work. And it started to work better than it used to. So in order to write the test, you just use the jest API. So you have lifecycle helpers, you have describe, test, only, skip, all of that. And for matchers, we are actually relying on vtest expect library package, so it's 100% compatible. The same goes for mocking and spying. We are using the vtest spy package under the hood, so all of that should just work as expected without any changes. For the future, this is a demo of something that Szymon spent last 2 weeks working on, and I just like struggled with it for a couple of more days. And it's gonna be released on October 14th, so like 2 weeks from now, wait for that. If you want early access, I can hook you up. Talk to me after this talk, maybe on the networking session. For the future of this tool, what we want to do is we want to integrate it with all of our native libraries, and we have many, and also with community libraries like this MAKV that I showed you. There is actually active pull request from Szymon that is actually doing much more than I showed you. He's written like, I don't know, 50 or 100 tests there with AI, but like those tests are testing the whole surface area of that package, of that API. So we want to do that for many, many more libraries so that we can make sure that the native layer works as expected, tested from JS layer. And we are also experimenting something very similar again that Daniel showed yesterday with using this tool to test the actual UI from Jest and from vtest layer on the actual device. Harness was built, again, by Szymon Chmal, software engineer at CallStack, and he consulted with Mike Grabowski, our co-founder, and special thanks to Mark as well, who was an inspiration for this and who has that PR that he needs to merge on October 14th. Thank you so much, React Alicante. Thank you for having me. My QR code is here. If you want to connect with me, that's my Twitter handle, and that also goes to my Twitter handle. Thank you.